zoning regulations and ordinances, and in the video that we did on building setbacks, I talk about how zoning regulations aren't always clear. And today I want to talk a little bit about neighborhood character and minimum lot size requirements and what happens when you have ambiguous language in zoning codes, because it can make a big difference. And there's lessons here for both land developers, real estate investors, but there's also lessons for public agencies, for land planning folks that help write zoning code. So this is it's a true story of a parcel we looked at in the Bay Area. It's a 10-acre parcel, maybe 8 acres, and been purchased by a developer, and he wanted to put single-family homes on it. And the zoning code for this particular parcel had a minimum lot size, but then it had this, when it talked about the minimum lot size, it had this kind of catch, this funky language that said something about how the minimum lot size had to comply with the neighborhood character. I'll put that in air quotes. And for those of you that don't develop land, minimum lot size is really important. It has a huge impact on the value of a potential real estate development, and the minimum lot size can basically determine whether or not you've got a project that pencils financially, if it's profitable or not. So a lot of these smaller projects, if you lose one lot, the project becomes unprofitable. So minimum lot size is really important. So when this developer had some initial conversations with the planning department, we weren't involved yet. They said, hey, we know that the minimum lot size in the zoning code is 4,000 square feet. I'm just making that number up. But they said, we've got this little catch-all in here about neighborhood character, and we think your minimum lot size should be 15,000 square feet. Well, that was a big difference, more than triple. And so the developer said, well, why are you going to triple the minimum lot size requirement? And they said, well, on this one side of your parcel, these 3 lots right here are about 15,000 square feet. So that's what we think it should be. So the developer had us take a look. And that was true. On one side of the parcel, there were 3 lots that were about 15,000 square feet. Then one on the other side, the front side, the lot faced the road. But on the other 2 sides, the lot sizes were substantially smaller. So they were right around that 3,000 or 4,000 foot mark. And so we went back to the city planning department and we said, hey, we don't think you guys are fairly interpreting your code here. It's true that on one side of this lot there are some 10 or 15,000 square foot lots, but on the other 2 sides the lots are much smaller. In fact, there's about double the number of small lots as there are large lots, or more than double. And so they said, we think the minimum lot size should be what's stated in the zoning code. It should be 4,000 square feet. And the city said, no, we get to make the rules. Neighborhood character, the lot size is 15,000 square feet. Now, in this particular case, the developer is going to be screwed because if he can't get that lot size at 3,000 or 4,000 square feet, his project doesn't pencil financially. So he said, well, what do we do? I said, you got to go hire an attorney, and just because you hire an attorney doesn't mean you're going to win. I said, you may not be able to build here. That might be one of the reasons why this lot is not developed. And he was obviously disappointed to hear that, but I said, that's what you can do. We can't do a whole lot more about this from the survey side. You're going to have to get some legal help, and you might have to sue the city if you want to build on that lot, if they won't be reasonable with you. So, what are the lessons there? There are some lessons. One is, anytime you see something like neighborhood character in a zoning regulation, as a land developer or a real estate investor, you need to be very cautious, because that is a red flag, at least a yellow flag, but it's probably a red flag, and it indicates that the planning department is going to have some major wiggle room there. They're going to have some broad discretion to interpret that requirement, and that neighborhood character clause can apply to a lot more than just minimum lot size. It could apply to your floor area ratio, how much of the lot you can cover. It could apply to how tall the buildings could be. It could apply to what color you can paint your buildings. So you need to be careful when you see that language. If you're going to go into a planner and make your case that the neighborhood character requirement in a zoning code should be applied in a certain way. Do your homework, have a good land surveyor or private land planner working with you, go in there with an exhibit, go in with your calculations, make a strong case, and just be prepared for them to tell you no. Because that happens, especially in the Bay Area where a lot of communities are anti-development. And so one of the lessons here, and I say this a lot, is in California, just because you can buy doesn't mean you can build. So let me say that one more time. Just because you can buy doesn't mean you can build. Or it doesn't mean you can build profitably. That's a better way to say it. Just because you can buy doesn't mean you can build profitably. So you got to look out for those neighborhood character clauses in the zoning regulations, and you have to understand, what's that agency's historical pattern? How do they typically apply those requirements? You got to watch out for those zoning ordinances that are open to broad interpretation by the public agency. I would say if you're a public agency and you want to promote healthy economic development in your community, don't write code like that. It creates a lot of uncertainty for the developer and for the neighborhood. It's a lot cleaner when everybody knows what the rules of the game are. So, and clear rules also keep you from getting sued. So don't put phrases like minimum lot size is going to be based on neighborhood character. Don't do that. It's confusing and it's unclear and it leads to problems and it can get you sued. I'll just give you one more example. I was doing a commercial subdivision and we already complied with all the zoning, and the zoning code, the municipal code said that to do this subdivision as a minor subdivision, we didn't need a public hearing. We only needed a public hearing if we had proposed changes to the general plan or we didn't comply with the zoning. But it said that determination was made by either the city engineer or the land planning director. And I went in to the city engineer and I said, my client would like to get this minor subdivision approved. He's in a hurry. We would like to do this without a public hearing. And the city engineer said, no, I'm going to make you get a public hearing. And I said, I don't understand why we don't need a public hearing. We haven't proposed any changes to the general plan or the zoning. And he said, I don't care. I'm going to make you have a hearing. Now, because of the way the code was written, my client had to wait 10 days and go to a public hearing that nobody showed up to. That's part of land development in California. You got to look at your zoning code, find out where where that wiggle room is in the zoning code, where the agency staff has discretion. And if you're developing land in California, you better be prepared for the worst case scenario, because many places where we develop are not pro-development. They're very anti-development. And if they can make you wait or cost you more money, they're going to do that. And so you need to know the rules. And you need to have a good land surveyor, good land planner, and maybe a good land attorney to help you navigate that system. So be careful. Watch out for phrases like neighborhood character. They can cause you major problems.